Hello everyone. Welcome back. Today, we've got some crucial news you don't want to miss. Let's dive right into the top financial headlines and break down what's happening. We're sharing insights from today's Bloomberg article titled, "Wall Street's Risk Binge Expands to Even Unloved Assets After Global Policy Easing." This piece sheds light on the current atmosphere in global financial markets, providing valuable context for those of you living in China as well. It's not just China that's seeing a surge of excitement and frenzy in the markets. This wild enthusiasm has spread across the globe. Contrary to what some may think, this surge isn't driven solely by recent policy shifts in China. Instead, it's part of a global phenomenon that's sweeping across markets everywhere. The report gives us a better understanding of what's fueling this worldwide investment craze. The article explains that risk assets are thriving in a bull market that's sweeping through international capital markets, fueled by trillions of dollars. This time around, global policymakers are throwing their support behind the surge. Central banks worldwide are contributing to the market boom, especially following a shift to a more dovish stance by the Federal Reserve after some promising Goldilocks economic data. For context, Goldilocks refers to an economic scenario that's just right, neither too hot, high inflation, nor too cold, recession. Right now, the US economy fits that description. As I shared with you yesterday, key inflation metrics, like the Core Personal Consumption Expenditure (PCE) price index, have dropped to 2.2%, and core PCE inflation has settled at 2.6%. It's not inflationary, but it's also not veering into deflation or recession territory either. The article continues, highlighting how this perfect storm of economic conditions has led to a wave of monetary easing worldwide, with major economies like China and Europe jumping on board. This global easing is igniting capital markets everywhere, with the Fed leading the charge by slashing rates by 50 basis points, and now others are following suit. One interesting term that comes up is Goldilocks economy, a sweet spot where things are neither too hot nor too cold. Right now, that's where the US economy stands. Inflation isn't a big concern, but neither is recession, making it a pretty comfortable place for investors. And when global central banks start loosening monetary policy, like what we're seeing in China, Europe, and elsewhere, it creates a ripple effect that spreads across capital markets worldwide. The Bloomberg goes on to describe the frenzy, noting that assets once considered undesirable, such as emerging market stocks, highly cyclical companies, and speculative tech bets, are now benefiting from this global optimism. Thanks to strong economic data, American companies and consumers remain resilient, which is giving markets an extra boost. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, though. The article also touches on how some investors, who missed the early stages of this rally, are feeling frustrated as they watch others reap the rewards. While earlier concerns about a US recession, election uncertainty, and weak employment data loomed large, recent Fed rate cuts and stimulus measures from China have turned sentiment around. As Matt Miskin, chief investment strategist at JP Morgan, points out, we're entering a season of heightened risk for small US stocks, Chinese markets, and high-yield assets. Another strategist from State Street Bank echoes the sentiment, suggesting that aggressive monetary easing led by the Fed significantly increases the odds of a soft landing for the US economy. While some experts are cautiously optimistic, others, like Manish Kobrow from Société Générale, urge caution, pointing out that this bullish sentiment may be short-lived, especially if market fundamentals don't hold up. The report also highlights how other parts of the world are fanning the flames of optimism. China's political leadership has made one of its largest stimulus commitments since the pandemic, sparking a rally in Chinese markets. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia might be gearing up for a new era of lower oil prices. Globally, central banks appear ready to join the rate-cutting cycle to support economic growth. The phrase cautious optimism has become a buzzword, with the Federal Reserve's shift in tone and China's coordinated stimulus plan easing two of the biggest fears haunting financial markets. Jason Bloom, head of fixed income ETF strategy at Invesco, sums it up well by saying the markets are telling us this time is different. There's already enough pressure and volatility to shake off any potential bubbles. In short, the article paints a vivid picture of the emotional highs in global markets. But instead of making predictions or offering advice, it simply lays out the facts for us to consider. We're in a global frenzy, and it's far from being a localized issue. The Bloomberg does an excellent job of presenting the current situation, leaving us to think critically about what's happening and how we should respond. Today's second major news story. This one comes from international headlines and is being covered extensively across global media. The big story is Israel's airstrike that reportedly killed Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah in Lebanon. Some outlets are even suggesting that Israel has effectively wiped out the top leadership of Hezbollah in this operation. We're looking at Reuters' take on this event. Their headline reads, "Israel kills Hezbollah leader Nasrallah in airstrike." They describe this as the most significant hit Hezbollah has faced in over 30 years. According to the report, the airstrike took place Friday in the southern suburbs of Beirut. The attack killed Nasrallah and leveled parts of the area, wiping out Hezbollah's top brass. Israel reportedly spent 2 weeks gathering intelligence and planning the operation, combining precision strikes and heavy bombardment to prevent the US-designated terrorist organization from launching further cross-border attacks on Israel. Sources suggest that senior officials from both Hezbollah and Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps were present at the time of the strike. Iran's official media has confirmed that Abbas Nilfarushan, a brigadier general in the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, was also killed in the attack. By Saturday afternoon, Hezbollah officially acknowledged Nasrallah's death. Robert Satloff, director of the Washington Institute for Near East Policy, commented on the gravity of the situation. He said that Nasrallah's death represents a major strategic blow not only to Hezbollah but also to Iran and its axis of resistance. Some media outlets have also reported that Israel used bunker-buster bombs in the strike, targeting the underground meeting of Hezbollah's leadership. These bombs flattened the area, destroying the entire community, including underground facilities where Hezbollah leaders were meeting with Iranian Revolutionary Guard officials. In Reuters' coverage, there's also an insightful background on Hezbollah's origins. While many view Hezbollah as a militant group funded and backed by Iran, it's more complex than that. Hezbollah's roots go deep into Lebanon's political landscape. After Lebanon gained independence from France in 1943, political power was divided along religious lines. The three dominant groups were Sunni Muslims, Christians, and Shia Muslims. However, in 1948, after the establishment of Israel, many Palestinians fled to Lebanon, altering the country's demographic balance. This shift led to 15 years of civil war. Starting in 1982, Iran began supporting Lebanon's Shia Muslims, helping them train young fighters. By 1985, these fighters formally established Hezbollah, which emerged in response to the country's changing political landscape and the influx of Palestinian refugees. By 1990, the civil war had ended, and Hezbollah, which initially held only a third of parliamentary seats, began demanding a larger share of power. They eventually secured veto power in Lebanon's government, making Hezbollah the dominant force in the country's political system. Today, Hezbollah controls 62 out of the 128 seats in Lebanon's parliament, making them not just a militant group backed by Iran but an integral part of the nation's political system. This shows that Hezbollah's influence extends far beyond its militant activities. It is deeply woven into Lebanon's political fabric. While it may be backed by Iran, Hezbollah has grown into a key player in Lebanese governance, and this strike has undoubtedly shaken the balance of power. From Israel's perspective, targeting Nasrallah could be seen as a strategic move to weaken Hezbollah's leadership and disrupt its operational capabilities. Nasrallah has long been a symbol of resistance against Israel, and his death could impact Hezbollah's ability to coordinate and launch attacks, at least temporarily. However, this could also provoke a severe retaliation from Hezbollah and potentially escalate tensions in the region. In terms of broader implications, the killing of a high-profile leader like Nasrallah might draw in more regional and international players. Hezbollah is heavily supported by Iran, and this development could further strain relations between Israel and Iran, possibly leading to a more intensified conflict or proxy warfare in Lebanon or Syria. Additionally, Hezbollah's influence within Lebanese politics means that this could destabilize Lebanon's already fragile government and society. On a global scale, this event could lead to heightened international diplomatic efforts to prevent further escalation, as the potential for a broader regional conflict increases. The involvement of major powers like the US, Russia, and European nations in trying to mediate or respond to these developments could shift the dynamics in the Middle East. In conclusion, while this strike may represent a tactical victory for Israel, the potential for retaliation and further escalation cannot be ignored. The situation remains highly fluid, and how Hezbollah and its allies respond will determine the next phase of this conflict. That's all for today. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more updates. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.